At least 4 people, including journalists, are killed in southern Lebanon in cross-border shelling by the Israeli military. I'm Tom McRae. This is Al Jazeera live from Doha. Also coming up, Israel targets northern and central Gaza, killing at least 20 Palestinians in Al Nusrat refugee camp. Battles rage across Gaza as Hamas indicates a truce deal with Israel may be close. And more Israeli raids on the occupied West Bank. Homes in Jericho, Nablus, Jenin and Bethlehem are targeted with reports of mass arrests. We begin in southern Lebanon, where 4 people have been killed in cross-border shelling by the Israeli military. 3 journalists and an 80-year-old woman are among the dead from the targeted attack on the town of Tir Hafa. The Al Mayadeen channel in Beirut has confirmed that its correspondent, Farah Omar, is among the dead. It says a photographer and a local journalist were also killed in the attack. Well, for more on this, we are going to southern Lebanon, where Zaina Khoda is standing by. And Zaina, do we know if these journalists were deliberately targeted?
Well, according to the channel that they worked for, the Pan-Arab Mayadeen channel, this was a deliberate attack. They were attacked by an Israeli armed drone. The Lebanese information minister has ordered the Lebanese army to commence with an investigation to what happened. They were in the southern border village of Tir Hafa. This is not the first time journalists have been targeted and killed in southern Lebanon since the latest round of fighting between the Israeli army and Hezbollah began on October the 8th. On October 13, a group of journalists were targeted. Issam Abdallah, a Reuters journalist, he was killed. There was an investigation conducted by Reporters Without Borders, and they concluded that they were not collateral damage in the shooting. The journalists were deliberately targeted. Just a few days ago, journalists who were at the frontline village of Yaroun also came under fire. The Lebanese officials, the prime minister is saying that he's calling this an aggression, and he's saying that this really shows the brutality of the Israeli army. Mayadeen channel saying that it will not be silenced. It will continue to cover the conflict along the border, not just in Lebanon, in Gaza, as well as the West Bank. So the feeling here is that the Israeli army wants to silence the media and punish journalists.
OK, thanks so much, Zaina Khoda, for us in southern Lebanon. Well, let's get the view from Tel Aviv. Now Mohammed Jamjoon is there for us. And Mohammed, what has Israel had to say about what they're doing along that border with Lebanon?
Tom, first, let me just mention we're actually in occupied East Jerusalem. With regards to that specific attack that you heard Zaina speak about right now, the 3 journalists in Lebanon that were killed, we've not yet gotten any details from the Israeli army. The reports that are circulating in Israeli media, they are simply quoting Lebanese media at this hour. So nothing with regards to the charges and accusations from the Lebanese side saying that Israel deliberately targeted those journalists. We expect we'll hear more in the hours to come. We'll get those details to you as we have them. But we have heard some bits of information from the Israeli army in the last several hours with regards to cross-border attacks into Lebanon. Let me just mention what was posted on social media by the Israeli army spokesman Daniel Hagari a few hours ago. He posted that Israeli warplanes had attacked 3 different anti-tank squads on the Lebanese side of the border belonging to Hezbollah. He also posted a few hours ago saying that Israeli warplanes had also targeted Hezbollah infrastructure and Hezbollah military infrastructure. It's not yet clear exactly what he means by that, but again, we do expect we'll be getting more clarification from the Israeli military in the hours to come. One more thing to add. All of this very unclear as to what it means going forward. This is a day when we're expecting there could potentially be a truce announcement made here, and we'll be hearing from the Israeli army and the Israeli government about that. But we don't yet know how that might impact things when it comes to Israel and Lebanon. There have been these cross-border shellings going on intermittently, sometimes intensifying since the start of the war on Gaza. And the question right now is, if there is a pause, if there is a ceasefire or truce, how does that impact what's going on between Israel and Lebanon going forward? Tom?
Okay, thanks so much, Mohammed. That's Mohammed Jamjoon in occupied East Jerusalem. Let's take a look at the number of journalists in Gaza and Lebanon killed in Israeli attacks since the war began. One of the first casualties was Reuters journalist Issam Abdallah, who was killed near the Lebanese border on October the 13th. An Al Jazeera vehicle also came under attack in an Israeli strike in the area, injuring several of our colleagues. And as we mentioned, Al Mayadeen's correspondent Farah Omar and cameraman Rabi Mimari, along with a local journalist, were killed just after they finished a live broadcast from southern Lebanon. In Gaza, the media office there says at least 62 Palestinian journalists have been killed so far. Now, journalists working in conflict areas are protected under international humanitarian law, but Israel has been accused of repeatedly violating these laws. Theod Kutab is a columnist at El Monitor and a former board member of the International Press Institute. He says there is a concerted effort by Israel to target journalists and that global media networks need to reaffirm that journalism is not a crime.
Lebanon is not the only place. We saw Shireen Abu Akleh, American Palestinian, was killed without anybody being held accountable. We've had 50 journalists in Gaza and media workers killed, 60 media outlets that were destroyed in Gaza. No one is holding Israel accountable, and unfortunately, the people that are victims are the ones who are supposed to be telling us what's happening. Israel thinks that by killing journalists, they can keep information away. In today's modern age, anybody with a phone can tell us what's happening. But they're taking away the professional journalists whose job it is to tell us what is happening on the battlefield. And it's really it's a crime, and it's really a shame that a country that claims to be some kind of a democracy is killing journalists, killing civilians, and getting away with it. International Press Institute, which I'm a member of, and I was a member of the board, the Committee to Protect Journalists, the Reporters Without Borders, all issue statements, but Israel doesn't seem to care. It's really amazing that our fellow journalists in major media outlets are also not giving enough attention to what is happening to members of their own media outlet and their own colleagues in the profession. So we need the institutes to speak, but we also need the major journalists from major outlets, CNN, ABC, CBS, all of them should follow the suit of these institutes and say, don't touch journalists. Journalism is not a crime. The crime is killing the journalists. And Israel is committing this war crime and must be told to stop.
Israel is maintaining its relentless bombing of Gaza. Homes and schools have come under repeated attack. Meanwhile, the political leader of Hamas says the group is close to reaching a truce agreement. In northern Gaza, there is no let-up. Israel targeted a residential neighbourhood with more than 8 homes on a street in Beit Lahia. There are reports of dozens of Palestinians killed and wounded. At least 20 Palestinians have been killed in airstrikes on 2 homes in Al Nusrat refugee camp in central Gaza. Several people, including children, were killed on Monday during Israel's bombardment across the Strip. 13 of the victims were killed in an Israeli strike on a UN-run school in central Gaza. The Israeli army has released this video, which appears to have been shot inside the Jabalia refugee camp. Israeli soldiers and tanks can be seen on the streets. Israeli media say there's heavy fighting between its forces and Palestinian fighters. And the Israeli military has confirmed at least 68 soldiers have been killed in the battles with Palestinian fighters in Gaza. That's since the beginning of Israel's ground invasion at the end of October. Hind Kodari is in Khan Yunis in the southern Gaza Strip for us. And can you just take us through the aftermath of those very, very intense Israeli strikes and also the ground battles that are continuing there?
The situation in the Gaza Strip is, as it continues to escalate, there has been a couple of targets in the Gaza Strip. We're talking about targets in Jabalia surrounding the Indonesian hospital and Kamal Adwan. We're also talking about another house in Jabalia. We're also talking about a couple of houses that have been targeted in the middle area in the Nusayrat refugee camp. Different targets, people are still under the rubble. We're talking about a house that had at least 57 Palestinian civilians inside, and the rescue and the civil defense are still to this point trying to rescue the civilians that are living in this house. At least so far they only rescued 17 Palestinians, and the search under the rubble is still continuing. People in the Gaza Strip are sending different appeals that they need people to rescue them from their houses. There are tanks surrounding several homes. People are stuck in their homes. They're trying their best to find anyone to help them. Either it's the Red Cross or ambulances, where they're saying that people are being injured and stuck at home and no one can even help them. We're also talking about at least 500 Palestinian injuries that are in immediate need for surgeries and for medical intervention, and no one can reach the hospital. The Israeli tanks are surrounding the area, and the situation is very catastrophic in the hospital, where the Palestinian Ministry of Health are saying that they are trying their best to provide all the medical assistance, but unfortunately they can't even reach the hospital. This is the situation right now. The last injury that was received in this hospital right now was a baby-born girl that has been targeted, that has been affected with the target in Khan Yunis, an agricultural land in Khan Yunis that has been a couple of hours. So this is the situation right now. The airstrikes continue. People are stuck waiting for people to rescue them. Injuries, hundreds of thousands of injuries, waiting medical assistance, and the situation is dire and catastrophic. That's what's currently happened.
Given all of that, given the situation as you describe it there now, what's been the reaction to the potential truce deal between Hamas and Israel?
We have been standing here for the hospital, and since the morning, all of the civilians are asking, what's new? Is there a ceasefire? Is there a cease agreement? Are we going back to Gaza? Will we be able to go back to our houses? We still don't know anything. People in the streets do not know what's going to happen. They don't know anything about ceasefire, but everyone is looking forward for a ceasefire. All we know is in the next couple of hours there's going to be a release of what the ceasefire is, but the people in the ground, all these civilians, all of these displaced people are waiting for any news about the ceasefire. And some people think they can go to Gaza City. Some people are waiting for a ceasefire to go back to the Gaza City to make sure their houses are there, to make sure they can see their family that has been stuck. The situation is they have mixed feelings. They want a ceasefire, an immediate ceasefire, and everyone is trying to know anything, but we still don't know anything. And everyone, I can tell you that everyone is waiting for any news about an immediate ceasefire.
I can imagine. Thank you so much for all of that. That is Khadari for us in Khan Yunis in southern Gaza. Well, there's plenty still ahead here on Al Jazeera, including the moment Yemen Houthis take control of an Israeli-owned vessel in the Red Sea. The fighters are threatening further attacks.